Track down a masked man they say tried to rob a hair salon.
Witnesses say the man went inside, fired a shot. It was a blank, but it obviously scared everybody who's in there. Can you imagine that? Juliana Mazza is live in Watertown now with the one thing that police say may make it tough to find the man. What was that key that they are having trouble finding him with?
Yeah, well, Chris, police say that the behind the hair salon, they do have surveillance cameras, but they were not working last night when that man barged in and fired off that blank round, as you said. I mean, you can only imagine a very scary situation for customers and staff. You can only imagine. Now, police still trying to find this guy. He's still on the run, hasn't been found.
It was determined that a gentleman did come in, fired one round we believe to be a blank round.
A fake gun caused a real scare at a hair salon in Watertown. An armed robber on the run after barging in these Main Street doors Wednesday night.
The description that we have now is we believe it to be a male, 20 to 30 years old, with a light-colored sweatshirt, blue jeans. He was wearing a black mask and sunglasses.
Police taping off the scene and dusting for prints while customers embraced one another after the terrifying encounter. Police said the robber likely barged in looking for cash, but they couldn't say what, if anything, was actually stolen. The man was able to get away on a bicycle, and police say they don't believe the public is in any danger.
It's a safe neighborhood. We believe the area right now is safe. And also important, if anyone saw anything, to contact Watertown Police or the Watertown Police Detective Division.
And again, because those surveillance cameras were not working, police are relying on the public's help to try and find this guy. Again, give them a call if you have any information. We'll bring you any new developments here on air and online at WHDH.com. But for now, live in Watertown this morning, Juliana Mazza, 7 News, today in New England.
Following the New Hampshire motorcycle tragedy, a community riding together as one, motorcyclists joining forces for a vigil in Whitman to remember the 7 people killed in that crash last week. And this morning, we're seeing some new arrest video from Texas of the driver who's accused of causing that heartbreaking collision. 7's Byron Barnett is live in Whitman with the latest on this new video. Byron?
Yeah, a big show of support for the families of the victims here at this VFW hall in Whitman last night. Thousands showed up to raise money for the families and to honor their fellow bikers who were killed in that awful crash.
What more tribute could you have?
Hundreds of bikers gather outside the Whitman VFW hall Wednesday night to honor the 7 people killed in that terrible crash in northern New Hampshire last Friday.
Just bikes as far as the eye can see.
Thousands of motorcyclists riding in from all over New England to help raise money for the victims' families.
When one falls, we all fall.
Police say Vladimir Zakovsky, the driver of the flatbed truck, caused the fiery crash by crossing over the center line and slamming into 10 bikers. The Ukrainian native now facing 7 counts of negligent homicide. The 23-year-old has a lengthy driving history and run-ins with police. Earlier this month, he rolled an 18-wheeler in Baytown, Texas. This new body camera video shows police in that same town questioning him back in February after officers say they found drug paraphernalia on him.
You're on something, man. Your pupils are dilated, so...
I don't know.
Well, what did you take? I just want to know what you took, man.
I didn't take anything, officers. I was working the whole day today.
Officers handcuffed him, but he wasn't charged. However, he was charged for an OUI in Connecticut just last month. That should have cost him his Massachusetts commercial driver's license. But the Registry of Motor Vehicles failed to revoke his CDL even after the department was notified by Connecticut officials. And that led to Tuesday's abrupt resignation by the head of the RMV, Aaron Devaney.
We take this very seriously, as does the secretary. She accepted the resignation.
Look at that beak.
Now, ICE officials have issued a detainment order against Zakovsky, which means that he would face deportation back to his native Ukraine if and when he's released from police custody in New Hampshire. That's a story live here in Whitman. I'm Byron Barnett, 7 News today in New England.
In the first Democratic debate, candidates making their mark.
I will fight for you as hard as I fight for my own family.
This is about getting America working again.
and getting heated.
If you did your homework on this issue, you would know that we should repeal this section.
Somehow squash this Taliban that has been there that every other country has.
While discussing the economy, immigration, and healthcare.
There's 3 women up here that have fought pretty hard for women's right to choose.
Hoping to leave a lasting impression.
I think a lot of folks got a chance to see who I am and got a chance to see my passion on the issues.
In the race for the White House. 10 presidential candidates taking the stage last night in the first round of the Democratic debate. Each candidate had a minute to answer a question and 30 seconds for follow-up responses. Some candidates took more time than others. Cory Booker, Beto O'Rourke, and Elizabeth Warren all spoke for more than 9 minutes. Jay Inslee had the least talking time with less than 5 minutes, but they all had plenty to say. For more on the debate, we turn to 7's Dan Housley, who's live for us this morning in Miami with more. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning. Well, it was also telling how much the candidates wanted to talk after the debate. In the spin room, just about everybody was there, including Senator Elizabeth Warren, building on a big night for her, as well as the other candidates trying to do the same. But what was also telling is the one candidate who didn't show up and didn't want to talk more, and that was former Congressman Beto O'Rourke. Think you moved the needle for yourself tonight?
I felt good. I felt like I was able to show people who I was. We're still over 200 days before the first primary votes are cast, and I'm going to have a lot of opportunity to continue to make my case and make an impression.
I had a good time. I had a chance to talk with people about the things I've been fighting for pretty much all my life.
Fresh off their first debate, similar messages from the 2020 candidates. Round 1 gave them a chance to show the American people who they are and what they believe.
How is this economy really working for?
Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren center stage and the standout candidate.
When you've got an economy that does great for those with money and isn't doing great for everyone else, that is corruption, pure and simple.
Several candidates calling out former Texas Representative Beto O'Rourke, including New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, during a question about whether to replace private health insurance.
No, I think the choice is fundamental to our ability to get everybody cared for.
Private insurance is not working for tens of millions of Americans. When you talk about the co-pays, the deductibles, the premiums, the out-of-pocket expenses, it's not working.
That's right.
So for those that's not working.
Former Housing Secretary Julian Castro also arguing with O'Rourke, a fellow Democrat from Texas, over immigration policy.
I think that you should do your homework on this issue. If you did your homework on this issue, you would know that we should repeal this section.
The candidates also talking foreign policy, equal pay, and guns.
I'm tired of hearing people, all they have to offer is thoughts and prayers.
New Jersey Senator Cory Booker drawing on personal experience, saying he hears gunshots in his neighborhood and wants change.
It is time that we have bold actions and a bold agenda. I will get that done as President of the United States, because this is not about policy, this is personal.
Fucking green screen.
And what was also interesting, how much the candidates didn't go after each other than Congressman O'Rourke overnight. They pretty much stayed in their own lanes there, and that was kind of interesting. Didn't go after each other and didn't go after the front runner, Vice President Joe Biden, who will be, of course, at the debate tonight. We're live in Miami. Dan Housley, 7 News Today, New England.
And Dan, after seeing last night's candidates square off, what can we expect from tonight when 10 more candidates take the stage?
Look at that fucking gorilla.
Well, I think we expect more tonight, that they may go after the front runner and also Senator Bernie Sanders. You may have the candidates on stage highlighting the differences in age. Mayor Pete Buttigieg has done that, talking about the need for a new generation and a new voice. So it'll be interesting to see whether you see more candidates trying to knock off the candidates in front of them, and particularly Vice President Joe Biden, but Senator Bernie Sanders as well. Possibly by highlighting the age difference, possibly by highlighting the insider-outsider status, with some real outsiders on the stage tonight, like Marianne Williamson and Andrew Yang. So we'll be looking for some of those differences to possibly come up tonight. Back to you.
All right, Dan, thank you. Dan Halsey will be sitting on round 2 of the Democratic debate tonight. You can watch his reports right here on the news station.
You won't.
One of the big topics last night, immigration, and also on 7, Republicans and Democrats are at odds at how to handle the crisis that's happening down at the border. Outrage heightened after a photo surfaced showing a man and a child who drowned while trying to cross the border. And we do have to warn you, this image is disturbing. John Coco is here in the newsroom with the very latest. John?
Chris, both parties agree there's a crisis at the southern border and it needs to be addressed. But most Republicans and Democrats don't see eye to eye on what should be done. The president and other politicians pointing fingers while problems at the southern border continue.
Democrats are solely responsible for the humanitarian crisis because they've refused every single effort to shut off the magnets of child smuggling. Hard to believe.
The sad fact of the matter is
Hard
we
to
can
believe.
do something about this. If the president would stop playing all the political
Look at
game
this
of blame,
fucking-
blame,
look at this
blame.
nasty
Critics of the
bastard.
president say migrant children
There
are
we
being
go.
treated
Little
like
Elizabeth
criminals.
Puppet Warren.
Our government is following a policy of
Look at this
inflicting
fucking okie
maximum pain on
Look at
families that flee here trying to build a better life.
The administration disputes that claim.
That's fucking
$100
great.
million this year
Jesus
to provide
Christ.
a better scenario with medical care, with blankets, with food that's appropriate for children in our facilities. But we need to do more.
In another example of a lack of agreement, on Wednesday, the GOP-led Senate passed a $4.6 billion bill that addresses the migrant crisis.
Yeah.
The bill, as amended, is passed.
This clashes with House Democrats, who approved a different plan the day before. Senate Republicans say they're not interested in reconciling the bills, which puts the House in a take-it-or-leave-it situation. However, it appears both sides may have been galvanized to quickly address the humanitarian crisis, especially after this heartbreaking image of a father and young daughter who drowned trying to cross the Rio Grande into the U.S.
President Trump, I want you to look at this photo. These are not drug dealers or vagrants or criminals.
I hope that picture alone will catalyze this Congress, this Senate, this committee to do something.
Lawmakers are scheduled to go on a month-long recess in August, so the clock is ticking to get funding approved. Live in the newsroom, John Coco, 7 News, Today New England.
So much more still ahead on the news station this morning.
Stay with us on 7 News at 7.
Don't go anywhere. Ahead at 7.
Is that your wedding dress? Yes.
Hearing wedding bells
Yay, for wedding day.
or sirens as police release this new video.
Fog and clouds will clear, and then things really heat up.
And Nana for a Night means you could have your authentic Italian meal and eat it too.
And that's not all. Coming up at 7:30, neighbors feeling drained.
Fix the plug.
While one city tries to flush out a sewage problem.
And this grandma's got guts.
And they were...
And it helped when she came face to face with a venomous snake.
If you're getting ready to walk out the door and hit the roadways, it's going to be a foggy commute. Not slow on Route 1 here in Saugus, but once you make your way to the Tobin, expect the slowdowns. Details after the break.